Mustang is a free roaming horse of the western United States. They are known for their endurance, strength, and the US is virtually built on their backs. But now they are no longer needed for labor and transport. They are sadly being mistreated and exploited at the hands of man. But all hope is not lost. We have Diane Delano, and she is an ardent horse lover. She has been an ardent horse lover all her life, and she desires to make a difference in the lives of these beautiful and intelligent wild spirits. And she has created this amazing organization called Wild Horse Rescue Center in Webster, Florida. And I have her on Chizuba Talks today. Welcome to Chizuba Talks, Diane.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I love to share with you about the American wild horses that we have here in Webster, Florida.
Amazing. So I read somewhere that in the early 1900s, the Mustang population was estimated to be over 2 million. And today there are only 40,000 left in the wild and about as many in captivity. So do these need to be rescued? And is that what your organization is doing?
You are correct about the 2 million that was over in the 1900s. And sadly, by 1956, they had almost wiped them out. At 1956, Wild Horse Annie started photographing some wild horses just for her own photographing. She stumbled across the Mustangers that were rounding them up. The horses back then were free of taking. And like you started on your podcast, America was built on their backs. The horses came from all over the world back to North America. The horse originated in North America. And then when the Spaniards and the Europeans and everybody brought their horses, so they're a mutt, a mixed breed horse out in the Western Plains. These horses are amazing to work with, but they were almost wiped out. Had Wild Horse Annie, they nicknamed her, in 1956 not exposed that. 1959, a law was passed. You could not round them up with airplanes. Well, in 1959, we didn't have helicopters readily available. You didn't have four-wheelers. You didn't have stuff like that in the 1950s. So it did slow down a little bit on the rounding up of the horses, but it took into 1971 that a law was passed to protect the wild horses. And from 1971 to about 2004, we really didn't have a big crisis. I mean, there were wild horses, they were being rounded up. I've been involved with the Bureau of Land Management's Adopt a Horse program since 1988. And you would get a horse 6 weeks from the wild. And it was so easy to work with. It was curious. It was interested in humans, because they come from domestic blood. A horse is a domesticatable animal. But in 2004, they changed some laws and they made massive roundups become the norm. Just the other day, they rounded up, I think it was 542 horses in one day, and they had 2 deaths, a baby and a mare, which is pretty common. They end up rounding them up in high speed, and these horses run into a funneled corral. You're putting stallions from other herds with stallions. You cannot just throw stallions in together. I mean, that's really inhumane. So unfortunately, the methods that they are really using right now are very inhumane. And there are a lot of people in America that are calling it out, but we haven't seen a change in how they're doing it.
Soon, I believe soon. So Diane, can you describe the process of rescuing horses from neglected environments?
Okay. I got involved with wild horses out of a passion. I knew about the wild horses when I was in middle school. That's when the 1970s. And I ended up adopting my first wild horse when I was like late 20s. And I fell in love with it. It was amazing to work with these animals. So for about 10 years, I was adopting and mentoring and helping people with them. And then I realized that so many people that were getting them really misunderstood these horses. And these horses now became very abused. emotionally. I mean, handled so terribly, physically, because if they couldn't handle them emotionally, then they didn't care for them, so they didn't feed them. It kind of went hand in hand. And in
True, true.
2000, I took in my first official like rescue that was somebody else's horse, and it came to my center, and it just touched my heart. It changed my heart. I was like, oh my goodness, these poor animals. I have never seen such fear and emptiness in their eyes. We have an education center, and you can look at the pictures that are posted there of these horses that have been done that way, and you see no hope in their eyes. They're dull, but they can rehabilitate through patience, a safe environment. That's also important. Feeding well. We need to eat well. You are what you eat. So if you feed them good, their minds are good. They feel good. Also, you have to have trust. Okay. Nobody can trust you if you don't trust them. So it's a whole process. And a lot of them blossom into beautiful animals. I have them all over the world. People can adopt. And some of them are pretty shattered, and we just make sure they have a safe place to be.
Let's take a break to understand what Chizuba is. Everyone at some point ponders on how this beautiful life can be made more meaningful. Maybe you're a leader trying to enhance your employees' experience at your organization. Or you already work for the community and seek volunteers with state of the art skills to strengthen your nonprofit. Whatever your situation, know that you can make a difference. Chizuba began with this very vision, a vision to facilitate every skill and every passion in the world in meeting a social need. Corporate volunteering has several benefits for both businesses and organizations. In parallel, experienced and enthusiastic volunteers join NGO workers, enabling them to serve the community more effectively. Chizuba offers everyone looking to add purpose and meaning to their lives a chance to connect or volunteer virtually with nonprofit organizations from over 100 countries around the world. Visit www.chizuba.net and explore opportunities to find meaning. Chizuba, your platform to do good. And now, back with our guest. So, Diane, how do you decide whether a horse can be tamed or trained or it remains wild at heart?
That's a great question to ask because we do get all types into the rescue center. So when you start working with these horses, one of the factors is, can it keep continuing learning? Like it'll pick up, and when you come back, it's there again, and you can continue. When they do not retain the simplest of things, it's really hard for them to progress. Because if being touched is never okay, it's very hard from haltering, bridling, saddling, if all the time when you touch them, their skin is crawling, their eyes are gone, they're not in the moment. I've had them where they're trembling, shaking, which is really sad to see an animal like that stop its breathing. The minute it gets away from you, it grasps for air. So we have taken horses to sanctuaries, the Black Hills of South Dakota, Return to Freedom. I have 8 sanctuary horses on 20 acres that somebody's letting me utilize their land. We've always tried to make true sanctuary here in Florida. I only have 42 acres. I wish I had 4,200 acres, and then we could have true sanctuary, because true sanctuary is freedom for these horses. You provide them a safe place to be. They have their own food in that, so you're not feeding them. It's not like a soup kitchen. And that's how I see it sometimes with these horses when they have no purpose and no life and they're kept in a small pen. It's like a soup kitchen. All they look forward to is, okay, great, you're going to feed me twice a day. Horses are extremely sociable animals. They have likes and dislikes. They have family. They love to groom each other. We have a gelding in right now, and when I let him out on the yard, and he went over and seen the baby. His look was so warm towards that baby because he was a stallion before. So he had children before. And it was very heartwarming to see that. So it is important for these horses to have a life because their life does matter to them as well.
Right. So when we are talking about adoption, how do you assess potential adopters and how do you ensure that they are a good fit for a Mustang?
We have them come to the center, so you actually do have to come here. Even if you want to have a horse from Canada or Germany or France, we've had people come to the center. Then we say you have a particular horse you want. We work with you. We see if you can, say if the horse is a riding horse, we're going to make sure that you and that horse can ride. If the horse is not a riding horse, we're going to see you ride on a tame horse to see where that's at. We're going to have you interact with that horse. We do deny people because some of these Mustangs that are available for adoption are for people that have knowledge and can finish the training of them. And you'll get people that just don't have the knowledge. And it's really hard to give somebody that knowledge like in a 5-minute talk. You either have it or you're going to have to seek. We do work with people. Say you don't have the knowledge for that horse. You are welcome to come back a couple times during the week. We'll set up an appointment and you work with us. I have a trainer, so it might cost you a little bit for that trainer to do that. That way, if it's your riding skills, you get better so that when the horse does leave, you guys are good together. Because we don't want the horses to go into homes that we're going to have to re-rescue back. So we want to make sure it's a good fit before they leave the property.
Right. And do you provide for horses that remain wild at heart and are not adoptable?
Yes, we do. So the horses that are called sanctuary horses, so we provide them hay, wormers, their vaccines yearly. If we have to do their feet, they have to be squeezed up in a system that we use. The vet has to be there, the farrier. We have to lay them down to do their feet. So yes, we do have to still provide care for them. And the only thing we don't do for them is like try training them anymore. Like we're not going to round pen them. We're not going to work with them. We're not going to try to make them because we have some horses. I have some that are 33 years old that are sanctuary horses. Okay, they've been sanctuary horses their entire life, and they may have came to me like 5 years ago. At 27, 28 years old, I am not going to magically make you now be a tame horse. But you lose your fear of us because we feed you, we take care of you, we don't ask anything of you, and they'll come near you, they come around you, they'll take carrots from you. But the only thing they don't want you to do is don't touch me.
Got it. Interesting, actually. I would love to visit this center of yours and maybe just interact with a few of these horses. I also heard, Diane, that you have something called Wild Horse Tales, and you have integrated live horses and classic horse literature to enhance literacy and engage students in the learning process. So please tell us about that.
Yes, we do. Well, also, you can come visit us. We have lodging for 6 people. We have cabins. We have a bunkhouse. We have beautiful lodging. We're an international program. So we have people from all over the world. They've been coming for 12 years. Our reading program, I volunteered for that program back in 2004. And I was on and off volunteering. And then Mark Miller owned the program, Arabian Nights. It was called Horse Tales. And it was about Arabian horses, Walter Farley's book, The Black Stallion, Little Black the Pony, The Black Stallion Returns, and Little Black at the Circus. So Mark Miller came and got 8 of my Mustangs for his show over in Orlando, Dinner Theater. And so we got a relationship. Mark is a wonderful man. When he closed down Arabian Nights, he donated the program to us. So in 2015, we had to rename it. It's called Wild Horse Tales. We still work with the same deputies, Orange County deputies. The program goes all over the United States. We just sent books to North Carolina. We send them to Arizona. We send them to Kansas. So we have the books. They purchase the books from us. They have a program and they use their own horses and deputies in other areas. I personally still work with the deputies in Orlando. Every February to March, we have about 10 schools that they get to come to the deputies' stable. They bring them there for a luncheon, and the kids are so adorable, and they get to touch the character of the book, which is our pony. His name is Little Black, and he's adorable. He just looks at them so sweet because they're first graders. They're really, short. They're his eye level. And the children get 2 books. It's and they get a lunch, and so it's a good experience for them. A lot of these kids have never touched horses, and it's the teachers appreciate it. So we've been involved since 2015 all the time, but the program was there 25 years before I even received it.
Perfect. That sounds like a perfect story. And I can imagine the children's joy, actually seeing the character coming alive while they are reading that book. Amazing. What a lovely program. So, talking of volunteering, Diane, tell us how can anybody wanting to volunteer get involved with WHRC?
We were gifted that program back in 2011. We started, but 2012 was like our launching of it. And we became an international volunteering program. So we're listed on international sites that people want to volunteer all over the world. What that does is it gives you a safe place to go that's been checked out. We were checked, all of our credentials, how our facility is, how our lodging is. We pick the people up at the airport, and then they come. They come for 1 week, 6 weeks. I just had a girl book for 10 weeks. So you can book for however many weeks you'd like to stay. There is a fee because your lodging and your care while you're here. The longer you stay, the more that you're going to learn from working with the horses. But even people that come for 1 to 2 weeks, it's just a great experience to be around so many wonderful animals. I mean, we have wild horses, we have tame Mustangs, we have donkeys, we have burros, which are a wild donkey. We have some goats. We have wonderful dogs at the rescue, and you could adopt a dog and take it home if you want it. So it's a really nice atmosphere, and it's a very relaxed center, which is nice for the animals. Like the atmosphere is not a high end because we're not a show barn. So we're not trying to hurry up and get these horses ready for something. They get to relax, they get loved on, they get cared for, they get turned out to the green pastures, they get to come back into their stalls. So it's a really nice program for them.
Wonderful. Sounds exciting. Sounds very, very interesting. And the last question here, Diane, where do you see your organization going from here? Or do you want anything more to happen at your organization? Do you wish for something that you want to, tell the audience here?
Yes, I do. Back in 89, I had my Aunt Anne. She was an artist, and she painted in watercolors my vision. I had a 15-page proposal. I really want an education center where people can come like they do now. So we already have that. What I don't have is true sanctuary. I really want my horses, instead of them being on somebody else's property that is on 20 acres. I want them where I can take you on tours. We can either go on a mobile vehicle type thing or on horseback riding or hiking and go and see wild horses in their natural environment. So yes, I still look at land all the time. I look at large land all the time. I pray and wish that I could have a bigger spot. And the funding, things cost. So if you're going to bring more in, you're going to have to pay for it. So the same thing with hay, feed, veterinarian. farrier. I just had dental work done today on horses. So if you are going to take care of them, you also need to be able to afford to take care of them. So funding, land, I want to still grow. I want this center to open up to more American wild horses that we can take in.
Right. Well, Diane, I wish you success with that perfect piece of land and lots of funding pouring in for this organization called Wild Horse Rescue Center, of which Diane Delano is the founder, and they are based in Florida. And thank you so much, Diane, for talking to us, for helping me understand, and of course, the audience understand how rescuing Mustangs is a challenging process, but very rewarding. It's like they say, to care for a horse is to learn the language of patience and trust. And you have plenty of that. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much for having us on. It's wonderful that all over the world that this reaches out to people, because we're all alike. We all want justice and fairness and loving for animals, because the horse does. The horse gives back so much. It's amazing. We had a lady, I won't keep you, but we had a lady from Sri Lanka. She came and she only took riding lessons. She was in her late 40s and she only was able to do an hour lesson, never integrate with the horse, just come there, do the lesson, and be done. She came to us for a month. She was so moved at the personalities that these horses have and how these horses like make you feel inside that you're important and that they care about you as much as you care about them. So it is a very heartfelt, touching experience. And the wild horses are extremely intuitive into what you're feeling and extremely giving of themselves. When they trust you, they give 110%. So it is a great journey that I've been on doing this. I feel very privileged, and it's every day of my life. Something that I get up to do every day is to help, train, adopt, rehabilitate America's wild horses. So thank you
Wonderful.
again for having us.